We are on a mission.
A mission to save and revitalize independent pharmacy.
On the Catalyst Pharmacy podcast,
You will get actionable business advice
hear stories from industry leaders,
and share a laugh with us.
fuel your passion for pharmacy.
One conversation at a time.
So for those of you guys who are in the audience who don't get out or go anywhere, our guest today is Scotty Sykes. He's part of the Sykes family.
Sykes and Company.
And
Yep.
Sykes and Company.
Y'all have spoke at Connect multiple times.
Scotty speaks all over the place.
Yep.
So if you go to shows and stuff, you've probably seen him speak somewhere before on accounting topics and finances related to independent pharmacy. Be a lot. How many y'all help independent pharmacies manage their finances? How many customers do you have today?
We have several hundred.
Yeah. So several hundred
We
customers.
work with. That's all we do. So we got some large regional companies we work with that
Okay.
we've had
Okay.
since the 80s, 90s. But 99% of what we do is 100% pharmacy.
Yep. So if you the plug there, if you're looking for an accountant that understands pharmacy, because it's hard to understand,
Yep.
then Sykes might be a place to look at.
Yep. But okay, hang on. You jumped into the business. So
I just wanted we
I
just drove in
know,
and hadn't introduced who he
you've,
was.
you've made the introductions.
So that's
Welcome. But I mean, we go all the way back to like the first year of PDS, like 2012, I think, or was when I first met you at
Marsha,
PDS.
I remember you were with Pharmacy Software Reviews at one
Was that
point.
a PDS? Yep.
That was PDS.
Yep.
Yeah, that was where I met you.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
That's what I was like 2012. Yeah, because Cone was a baby, maybe 2000, maybe even all the way to 2011. But I don't think we were quite going to trade shows. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe may go that far back. But yeah, I remember
2011, I think, is when we started hitting all the trade shows.
Yep, I remember the baby face before the beard.
Oh, yeah, you know.
Yep.
10 years, 10, 12 years, shoot. Things change, you know.
So your dad's been doing
grew
this
up a
for
little bit.
years. And so walk us through that. So your journey, like your dad started this company when?
So Sykes and Company started in 84, right a year before I was born. And my dad started it with a handful of ladies here, and half of them are still working here. And grew it, you know, regionally. And then we got known around the late 90s, early 2000s for fixing troubled pharmacies
Okay.
with Mutual Drug Wholesaler,
Right.
regional wholesaler here in North Carolina.
Yep.
Okay.
And so our reputation grew at Mutual Drug, and we had a bunch of Mutual Drug clients. And then around 2010, we happened to run into Live Oak Bank. We saw they did pharmacy lending. We were in pharmacy, and we met with them, and they helped us kind of meet some people and open the doors for us. And next thing you know, we're doing conferences and trade shows and speaking about pharmacy issues. And you know, here we are. So we're in probably 40 states now or something like that. So
Wow.
it's been crazy. It's been fun.
And so you've essentially grown up in this business, literally.
I was shredding paper here back in the 90s as a kid. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So born and raised into the business.
Started shredding paper. Now I'm CPA, CFP.
Hopefully not still shredding paper. But
I will still shred paper. I've got my shred box right here, as a matter of fact.
Sometimes that's
no,
the best
so-
ASMR.
yeah, I see. Yeah.
I can shred paper. You probably don't want me doing, you know, maybe a bank rec. We got other people that are better than that than me.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so then you went to college. You're certified CPA, yes?
I am
Yep.
certified
So
public accountant, certified financial planner. Yep.
where did you go to school?
Went to UNC Wilmington.
Okay.
So right there on the coast in Wilmington, and did my undergrad there. Stayed, did my
What years would
graduate-
that have been?
That was 2004 to 2008, and then 2009 I stayed and did my master's in accounting, specialized
Okay.
in tax.
Would that have been One Tree Hill years?
That would have been One Tree Hill years. I was about to ask. So you've probably got some stories.
Oh, they were
stars?
shooting all kinds of stuff. You know, Dawson's Creek was just ending or something like that.
Yeah, Dawson's Creek was ending, and One Tree Hill kicked off in 2004.
Did you see any of the stars around there?
I may have. I didn't. I wasn't a One Tree Hill kind of guy, so I was playing golf, swimming, you know, at the beach. I wasn't not a big TV guy.
What about diving? So you're near the ocean. Any scuba diving?
No, I do not do scuba diving. It kind of sketches me out. I don't know. I don't want to go 200 yards, 300 yards off the beach and dive into a shipwreck.
But we'll go 300 yards off and go fishing.
Now, I will go fishing on a boat, yes, and I will surf or something like that. But
going
under the water,
when you think of skydivers, and people are like, "Yeah, I love skydiving," and I'm like, "Why do I want to jump out of a perfectly good plane?" You are in the sense of, "Why do I want to jump out of a perfectly good boat?"
Exactly,
right.
Exactly.
And there was something to see. You know, like if you were skydiving and you'd see hundreds of birds flying by you with all different colors, and it's kind of like you under the ocean. That might be more interesting, but.
Yeah, I don't think that's the same because you're like passing the birds.
Yeah,
and they're
right, really fast. Yeah.
Well, the ocean here is not, you know, it's not
murky.
a very, you know, it's not like a Florida beach where it's real clear and everything. It's a muddy kind of ocean water, so it's dark, and I don't know. I'm
more
not,
brackish for sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when y'all have a podcast, you have a podcast that's how many times a month?
I actually just got done shooting an episode and hopped over here. So we do it every 2 weeks. We drop an episode on Thursdays.
And so what's the name of the podcast first off for our listeners?
Well, we got a couple names, but we pretty much go with Sykes Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast. So
okay, I like it.
It's the bottom line.
Throwing in the accounting terms and
we get quite a bit of views, and it's fun. You know, we don't plan anything, kind of like what we're doing here. We just shoot the breeze and talk about whatever topics come up. So,
who was the guest you just filmed?
We had Debbie Marcello with Happier at Home. I met her at the NCPA conference this past year.
Yeah, was that the lady working with McKesson?
I don't know.
What does she do?
She does a long-term care franchise for home, you know, assisted living at home.
Right, the long-term care home.
Got a franchise model that maybe if it's the right demographics for a pharmacy, they can reach into that service area and get some cash-based revenue that way. So you have pharmacies getting, you know, adding nurses to their pharmacies. It's kind of the other side of that, adding, assisted living kind of help for those medical at home patients.
And when will that air?
Oh, probably in a few weeks. We're going to have a special release with the beneficial ownership information reporting. So that'll kind of push that back because we got to push that out. That's a new thing all pharmacies need to be ready for.
Let's talk DIR Cliff. What are you hearing? What are you hearing from the field?
You know, right now I'm not hearing a whole lot. It's still early. I've had some pharmacies, raise some concerns for sure. But it's not as much as I thought it would be right off the gate here. So, you know, it remains to be seen what happens. We're certainly going to be reviewing January numbers closely. In fact, we're speaking at the Pioneer Conference.
Yep.
And we're going to have like the content we're going to be bringing is, real-time, up-to-date content. So January through either March or April numbers and what we're seeing in the industry. So we're going to have
kind of what happened.
Some real-time data that we can share with folks.
Yeah, it's super interesting. You know, we're hearing, from our customers that, some of it's better than they thought it would be. Mm-hmm. You know, some of the payments are better, especially on the brand side, than they thought it was going to be.
I've seen that. Yep.
So that's in. Go ahead.
I guess that's why I haven't heard as much. I mean, I've been asking. I haven't heard. I would think, I'd be getting emails and everything. I'm not. So that tells me that maybe it's not quite as bad as people thought, or they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, in the first couple of weeks, the pharmacists are focused on the insurance changeover.
Yeah.
And getting that up to date. So you'll probably get a bunch of panic emails the last week of January.
Yeah, I don't know. They're
bet.
looking. And you can see on the boards and stuff, people who have a more basic pharmacy system where they haven't put in DRR fees and stuff like they haven't been looking before are in shock. Because they're, really, or who didn't have someone like Sykes, it was just relying on, what popped up in the system as what profit they made. Some of them are shocked because they weren't really doing that,
they weren't really focused.
Weren't really taking care of business before.
Or they weren't being properly coached by either their pharmacy system or a company like yours.
Yeah, it'd be super interesting. But it is not the bloodbath
that it was predicted as
that I thought we would hear.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be a lot more chatter.
The big issue I'm waiting on is the care mark, the trimester clawback that's going to be coming, March, April timeframe.
Right.
And that's where those bigger numbers hit for that 2023 DR fee. So that's kind of what's really going to,
when they
if we
claw
can
it back.
get past that, I think it's, smooth sailing.
Yeah, they got to have the money in the bank to claw it back. So, not only do they need the money, coming in, but they need that have saved up some money. So it'll be interesting. Are any of your pharmacies kind of position themselves to try to buy a couple of pharmacies in this? Have y'all been, as you do financial planning and strategy? We
always have pharmacies looking to buy pharmacies. So that is always on the radar. For those,
are you seeing a higher trend, I guess is what Jeff was asking.
Yeah. Are
you seeing a higher or lower trend of pharmacies selling and buying at this right now at this time of year?
Selling, no, because the multiples aren't there with the unknown that was coming into the DR fee.
Right.
So the valuations weren't really strong for selling a pharmacy. So we didn't, a lot of folks were pushing that off. So selling was light coming into this year. Now purchasing, that's going to be interesting because there's going to be some pharmacies that didn't prepare for DR fee. They don't know what's coming. They don't have the advice and counsel.
Yep.
They haven't been paying attention. Those pharmacies are just filling prescriptions. Some of those are not going to make it probably.
Yeah.
So
they're probably going to sell for debt.
Some opportunities.
They're probably going to sell for their debt, and that's it.
The pharmacies that you have been working with, what kind of steps have you been taking with those pharmacies to help them prepare?
Well, what we spoke about all last year was, you certainly have to have the fundamentals in place, which all of our clients do. But once you have that in place, then you can learn your cash flow. How does your cash flow move? What is, what's going on in the pharmacy? How does that bottom line net income tie into the balance sheet and your cash flow? How are you, what's debt got to do with the cash flow picture in the pharmacy? So, it's really getting that fundamental information, knowing how the pharmacy's cash flow moves in the pharmacy. Every pharmacy is different. Everybody says, I have $100,000 in net income. It's not in my bank account. Well, it's sitting there in receivables and inventory. That's where you're, and then you've been paying off debt and you're taking distributions out of the pharmacy. So it's that whole picture, putting that all together for them, mapping out, how to manage that. Maybe they're taking too much distributions or the debt structure is not right or whatever it is. Right. Managing inventory better, however they need to do that. Paying attention to receivables. We see a lot of pharmacies that really, the third-party receivables is your biggest unreconciled bank account, for a pharmacy. Unless you're paying attention to what is being owed to you, you're just kind of, fill and pray type method, and we certainly don't suggest that. So it's putting all those pieces together, and then of course the number one ratio we follow in a pharmacy balance sheet is the current ratio.
Yeah.
So, current assets divided by current liabilities, and that's that liquidity ratio in a pharmacy.
Yep.
And that's going to tell you how strong that liquidity is. Are they prepared for DR fee unknown, and the cash flow is going to come with it?
Right.
That current ratio is a measure we use to help them gauge that.
Do you see I know you work with a lot of people, a lot of different buying groups, a lot of different wholesalers. Do you see a difference in PSAOs? No, don't call anyone out, but is it worth someone to look around, or are they really all the same?
So that's an interesting question. We definitely see buying groups, and I can say we definitely see buying groups that are better than others.
Okay.
And we see, and a lot of that has to do with the PSAO side, the contracts and their market.
So buying group, you're talking about the buy side or the sell side?
Both. So
both. Okay.
With a buying group, they'll go with that buying group, and then they'll have that PSO tied to that buying group, and those contracts and that and such with that PSAO on the revenue side.
Okay.
Is a key component. And then you also have the buying side is a key component. So if you can maximize the buying and the right PSEO for your marketplace and demographics and things like that, you can really get to a 25-26% gross margin in a pharmacy.
Wow. Okay. So you're hearing now, so it's worthwhile to look, just because you've been with something a while, it's worthwhile to evaluate different buying groups. You should be able to get a reasonable margin.
Absolutely.
Is there something else I was going to ask?
I don't read your mind. I can't answer that question for you.
All right. So
we definitely see that. Yeah. I mean, the how well you buy is a huge piece of it, but that revenue side as well. Yeah.
All right. So for the single store as well, do you think a single store can see that kind of margin?
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We got. A strong pharmacy, retail pharmacy is about 25% gross margin. If they're maximizing their buying, they're maximizing their inventory control. They got the right revenue piece in there with the PSAO, and they're maximizing their revenue that way. You can get to a 25% margin in a pharmacy.
And then if I'm a well-run pharmacy based on your recommended practice and stuff, what's my margin today?
So it's gross margin? I'd like
net.
to see.
What's my net margin?
Net bottom line?
Yep.
So we see anywhere from 3% bottom line up to about 10% bottom line for a retail. So I've got some retails that are about 10% bottom line. That's an outlier, but most are about 3 to 6% bottom line.
Yeah.
With 3 to 4 about right there at the average, and that's a commendable bottom line. I mean, it's a respectable bottom line for a pharmacy.
Right, 3%,
3 to 4%.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
How has that been compared to maybe 5 years ago? What would have been respectable 5 years ago?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe it was about 4 to 5 at that point.
And 10 years ago?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Don't have that off the top of my head. Yep.
Okay. So that's not bad. A lot positive. I think there's a lot of positive stuff going on in pharmacy.
Yeah, it's like we get around in CPA and there's just a lot of doom and gloom chatter about.
It's everywhere.
And it's everywhere. You're right. But I mean, in CPA this past October seemed to be a lot of doom and gloom conversation around how this January and February is going to go. This first quarter.
So here's my theory on that. Happiness.
Prepare for the worst.
Well, no, happiness and unhappiness are about the rate of change, not about where you are. Okay, I always say there are guys mining coal in North Carolina who are happy, right? and the reason you're seeing that doom and gloom because you just heard 4 or 5 years ago, 3 or 4 today. You're on a downward slope.
Right.
That the doom and gloom is the direction, not the position. Mm-hmm. Right. And so things aren't as good as they were. Things is not, so you want to change that. You have to start seeing, and even things can be in a bad 3 or 4%. Mm-hmm. And you hear people like Doug Hoey and stuff start talking positive. Like the last innovation board meeting I was in was pretty positive because things are starting to improve. Yeah. Legislative's very interested. The Senate and the House, the only thing they can agree on is that PBMs are bad. You're starting to see some things. You're starting to see some cost plus models. Mm-hmm. I think you'll start hearing more positive talk, even though your actual position hasn't moved.
Yeah.
But there's this feeling of improvement. Hey, we see some brands paying a little better. Hey, we
Yeah, it would be interesting if, and I don't know if you can share, but maybe kind of a briefing or a highlight, kind of a newsreel in a way of, what is covered or talked about in those innovation board meetings. Like, share with us, what can you share? And then what's the next positive? Because I'm interested in what you give me cliff notes.
Yeah, well, a lot of the innovation board is around education. It's around programs. It's around promoting CPSN. And so there are representatives there from pharma, from pharmacy, from technology.
But there's more positive conversation that comes out of those meetings than what we hear. What Scott and I hear.
Sometimes it's a negative, but I'd say the last one, there was a lot of positive things going on.
And the next one is this February at multi-location.
There was, you get legislative briefings about what their legislative stuff's doing. You get a lot of place about what CPSN
if you ask
is, what
me
they're challenging.
Personally, I think, I think pharmacies really have just a tremendous amount of opportunity. I mean, pharmacies now can get into areas of healthcare beyond just filling prescriptions, and they can be that healthcare center in their community. And that is just a huge opportunity. And so the pharmacy owners that are adopting that mindset, putting a nurse in the pharmacy, clinical services, specialty niche OTC or vaccinations, point of care, whatever it is, long-term care, those pharmacies are exceeding averages. Their margins are higher, their bottom lines are better, their cash flow is better. So the pharmacies that are adopting this are definitely paving the way for the future of pharmacy. It's the ones that are not willing to change or gonna complain about this or that all the time. There's always going to be headwinds, but the opportunities out there are a lot, and COVID really helped push that along for pharmacy owners, the industry. And so, I think there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity.
To me, the biggest thing, and I continue to advocate for this, is that there's not enough education out there for patients to be aware of this level of this option of care in a community pharmacy setting.
Right.
Because I think about when I was starting out, separate off my parents and my own insurance, own healthcare, all that stuff, I thought CVS was the answer until I started in this side of the industry, and it's like, oh, there's community pharmacy, and they can do a lot more. I thought that in order to get a flu shot, I actually had to go to my doctor. I didn't know that I could go to a community pharmacy and get a flu shot. And there's still some stuff there, like children with asthma, you have to still go to the pediatrician up until they're like 10, maybe 12 years old, and then the pharmacist can start doing it. But again, I was an uneducated patient.
Yep.
And now being in the industry, I've got the education, I've got the knowledge, but it's like, how do you put that message out in your community? Don't go to CVS, Walgreens. Hey, I can do your flu shot. I can even test you for flu or COVID.
Yep. And that's that pharmacy marketing that locally.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a national marketing. That's that local pharmacy figuring out how they get that message out. Mm-hmm. And some of that's word of mouth. Some of it's active marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So
marketing's huge.
Yeah. It's taking advantage of the
Yep.
Isn't it like end of December is like Shop Local Day or something like that? And they're like
that's November Saturday, right? Saturday shop small.
Yeah.
I think every day should be
Shop Local, Shop Business Day. But I mean, there was like some social media trend that started it was mildly recent that was around that. So
yep.
So you have a lot of those 200 pharmacies are ones I would consider innovators. Mm-hmm. What's some of the coolest new innovations you've seen?
Man, that's I think the nurse putting the nurse practitioner in a pharmacy is pretty cutting edge, and that's continuing to expand and grow. We're just seeing pharmacies get that set up and going. So over the next year, we'll definitely get a feel for what that's doing.
Are those doing really well, or am I putting the nurse practitioner in there and business growing really fast?
Just like I said, they're just getting started for about a handful that we're seeing, and so it's a little too early to tell. But
we need to follow up with Ashley Moose and see how hers, because I think when we had her on the show,
They were starting to introduce it.
Just
into
like the first day or
location,
so.
Yeah.
Be interesting
I
to see
mean,
how
everybody
quickly.
you talk to is like, oh, I wish I could just pay $50 a month and subscribe my family.
Yeah.
I can just walk in and get a prescription and walk out. I know they got strep throat or whatever.
Yeah.
Are you seeing
you
a
don't
lot
go
of
wait to doctor.
subscription? Are you seeing a lot of subscription models in the pharmacies you work with?
Such as
Well, I
Like-
mean that's
Like the blueberry
Yeah.
or like Ashley's doing with the. You seeing some of that?
not particularly. I mean, we're seeing it, but not widespread. I've got
Yeah.
some pharmacies. I got a pharmacy that did cost plus, and they've kind of just figured it out on their own, and they're killing it.
So the cost plus people are doing really well.
Yeah, and the patients are all for it. So he's told the patients, I can't service you or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how he's doing it, but the patients are all in for it. And
Is
it's
he taking
working for him.
insurance too, or just doing cash?
He's doing both.
Yeah. How many do you've seen a lot go to generics only?
I haven't seen anybody doing that.
I know Mike Coltzer, who does a podcast as well, switched his pharmacy to generics only and says he's doing really well. A couple of years ago. So
Yep.
that was interesting. Hopefully the brand dynamics will change. You know, the wholesalers many moons ago went into this, we're going to subsidize the brand price. And as soon as the payers figured it out, they just lowered what they pay. So it didn't really subsidize it with the generic business. So
You got to pay attention to those brands. Pharmacy owners have to pay attention to the brands. We've seen pharmacies that are not paying attention to what they're filling in terms of those brands this past year, like the GLP-1s and
Yeah.
no.
You can lose a lot of money fast.
Yeah. So we saw that out in the industry. So you got to be paying attention to that stuff. And Pioneer, you guys had the DR fee estimator in there last year, so that helped, and we helped push pharmacies to do that as well.
Well, you still got the generic, the GERs in there that they still need to do.
Yep.
Because that can get you too, because it can say it's
Yeah.
going to pay one thing, and then they're going to balance it out and take it back. So if you're in a GER contract, you're seeing more or less GER contracts.
We don't get into the contract side, so I can't.
Okay.
I can't speak to that. Yep.
Interesting. You think that would be a little bit of the financial planning, because in a GER they're going to come back and balance. Because what the claim showed wouldn't really be right.
We're kind of looking at it at a macro view for the pharmacy, that overall margin, and then kind of dig from there. But I'm not reading contracts.
So is that a cash basis then? Are y'all really looking at just what goes to the point of sale?
All our pharmacies are on accrual basis. So
accrual.
that accrual based financial will tell you exactly what's going on month in, month out. If you're just cash basis, you're missing a big key with receivables in there. I mean, that's a large chunk, payables, things like that. So all our pharmacies are on accrual basis. It's simple to do. There's really no extra steps involved.
Well, the
and then
accrual
for
seems
tax
more
purposes-
complicated with the DIR and the GER.
Yeah.
I guess was the.
Well, we use the reconciliation systems, and we're adjusting for DIR fees and things like that.
Okay.
Interesting. Might
But
be
we saw
something.
DR fees about 5.5%, 6% of revenue last year for 2020.
Yeah, and I heard they were going up. Like Caremark was just escalating.
Every year
there.
they've gone up. Every year, one whole basis point, pretty much.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I think that's the can kind of situation.
Yeah, it's just the way that the wording in the contract.
I remember, I may have said this before, I'm gonna say it again. I did some consulting work for a hospital out of college, and hospital system,
Yep.
and it was in Louisiana, and they had gone to Louisiana Medicaid and say, hey, you're paying us below our cost, and they was like, we know, and you're still taking
we
it.
don't care.
Yep.
So, basically they just turn the dial, and as long as people keep taking
Paying
their
it.
patients, they just keep turning the dial down. And I think that's what you're seeing the PBMs, they just turn the dial. Although they're realizing now, and a couple of PBMs are realizing we've extracted all we can out of pharmacy. We got to find it somewhere else.
Yeah. They milked it all they could.
And they're looking for new models. So that should be interesting how some of that stuff shakes out. And the interesting thing there is there's not 5-year PBM contracts. You know, so you have this very almost like fruit flies, right? You know, this genetics where you're just changing very rapidly, and things can change bad rapidly. They can change better rapidly. So it'd be super interesting to follow. What kind of projects are you working on?
We're actually working on our own Sykes Digest. So we're going to be bringing all our data together and putting it together and pushing out our own KPI report. So that's coming this year.
That's exciting. How do you think that's going to compare to the one done by the other guy?
It's probably be comparable, but we have the consistent processes and accounting fundamentals in place. So we're going to have consistent data. What they get is
self-reported
every which
kinda.
way.
Okay.
So,
no, that's what I would think. And yours would be better.
So that's, ours should be rock solid. I mean, we've got the
and that'll be your couple hundred pharmacies that you used.
Yeah, I was about to say, is this going to be like so the data you're using is the pharmacies that you're currently working with, and is this data going to be reported out massively to only the pharmacies you're working with, or is this going to be reported out industry-wide, quarterly?
We haven't decided how we're going to push that out. It's probably going to push out to the industry. You know, we're always trying to help as many pharmacies as we can. So we'll find a way to help push it out and help the industry, I'm sure. Yeah,
it's super interesting. I would wonder how your customers stratify as an example of. I would think that your customers would be better.
Now it's the hard part is putting them in the right categories because you got specialty, long-term care, compounding, and some of them do a little bit of everything. So it's it's quite a bit of work to get a good data set.
Interesting. So working on a digest. What else? Anything else?
We got tax season coming up, so really gearing up for that. You got beneficial ownership reporting.
And so what is that?
That's a new thing. It's an anti-money laundering thing through FinCEN, Department of Treasury. Pretty much every pharmacy, LLC, anything, you have to file this. Penalties are steep. You got to the end of the year. So that's coming up. Now we're not going to be. That's a practice of law, but we're going to have some content on that to help pharmacies.
So you're kind of like on double duty right now.
Yeah, it's just registering with the
DIR Cliff and tax season.
Yeah, you have to register all the beneficiaries of your business, basically.
Yep.
So that's coming. The penalties are like $500 a day or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're not joking around with that stuff. So. We got that. We've got obviously the DR fee cliff. We're kind of waiting to see what happens there. And there's probably going to be some tax changes coming up soon. Definitely by next year. We got the expiring, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires. So that's going to impact pharmacies for sure. So we're going to have some big, heavy tax items, I'm sure, next year, if not this year. Yeah.
So what all of that mean? If that just expires and nothing gets renewed, what does that change?
Oh man, that could change a lot. You got 199As, qualified business income deduction. We still see pharmacies. We do the ARCS assessment service where we take a pharmacy, we overview it. It's a one-time service we do, and we give them kind of a check under the hood, what you're doing. And we still see pharmacies not taking advantage of that. They're eligible. In fact,
and what is that?
So pharmacies. Retail pharmacies that have over 90% of their prescription of their work is prescriptions, which most of them are eligible for the qualified business income deduction minus any limits. But so you get pretty much 20% deduction on your income at the pharmacy on your individual tax return. So we still see pharmacies miss that. We still see, what else do we see? We still see pharmacies on the accrual method of accounting when they could be cash basis for tax. And that is that could be a huge tax savings for pharmacies. And we still see pharmacies not taking advantage of that. So all those things, both of those key things would change. So you'd have to go back to accrual accounting for pharmacies for the most part in general. And then 199A would drop off. So tax rates would...
Yeah, the rate goes up.
What are some other kind of things like that you think that pharmacies kind of miss when they file their taxes that would be good to know or share?
Well, definitely those two. We see those a lot. Those are big numbers that can really put multiple thousands of dollars in the pocket of a pharmacy. You've got some issues with larger pharmacies, multiple store owners that we see missed a lot. You've got inventory issues. You can't write off inventory. That's for tax purposes. The IRS clarified that. If you're writing off inventory, you got to pick that back up on your books and for tax purposes. But I mean, those are the 2-3 main things we see that really drive the needle from a dollar standpoint.
So tell us about the little one-time checkup thing that you guys do.
Yeah, so we have this RX assessment service, and what we do there is we get the accounting files, if you're using like QuickBooks or something in the pharmacy, and we do the prior 2-year tax returns for the pharmacy and the owner if they want us to overview that. We get that in-house. We have pretty much one senior pharmacy accountant that does all these all the time. And then we get you on a video call for about an hour and a half, and we run through everything, top to bottom, balance sheet, P&L, taxes, and we give you a full check under the hood of what you're doing, issues, concerns, what you're doing well with, and highlight all the areas we think you need to work on and get right in your accounting fundamentals and tax issues.
What's the time commitment on a pharmacy to do something like that?
All it takes is an hour and a half video call. So you just submit your information. We do charge $2,000 for that service, but you just submit the information online, and we'll line up a call with you about a week later and give you the full rundown.
Interesting. Do you find a lot of problems that way?
Oh man, we can. We look at so many pharmacies every day. We can look at a balance sheet and P&L in a pharmacy and know right away the issues.
Seems like something a lot of people should do.
Yeah, we do it. We do 4 or 5 a week.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
We do a lot of them. We have folks that come to us just for that once a year. They don't need our services or whatever. That's fine. But they want the check under the hood.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of a check how the other people are doing.
Yeah. And we don't have any conflicts with any vendors or anything. So we talk freely about everything. There's no, hiding anything. We're forthright and full of candor on those calls. Yep.
Very cool.
So y'all are speaking at Connect.
Yes.
Well, are you speaking? Because I understand you have a baby due at that time.
I do. I got a second on the way, so wish me luck. But I think Bonnie's going to do it for me.
Okay.
I tried to tell them I think I could swing it, and they're like, once you have 2 kids, you're not going to be able to swing that. So.
One and one, or it's what's the rule? One means one, but one and one
plus one
is
isn't
4.
2.
It's
1 plus 1 is like 4.
It's 4.
So I'm sure. So I think Bonnie's going to fill in for me.
Okay.
And
and how old is Pete?
It was hard for me to not say I'm going to do it. I like to speak and.
So
that's
so baby number 1, how old in the name?
Yeah, it's Pete.
It's Pete.
How old's Pete?
Yeah,
how old's
he's got a birthday coming up. He'll be 5 in March 4th.
Oh, wow.
And he is the sweetest
5-year-old
kid,
and then
the biggest heart.
That's actually the perfect, I thought.
No, see, to me, I'm like, get number 2 while number 1's still in, moving diapers to diapers, because there's a lot of things you forget that you struggled with.
No,
not you.
No, I didn't feel that way. And like Mackie's 4th birthday, we sat her down and showed her the sonogram. We're like, you're going to be a big sister.
Yeah, so
and she was a super helper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super helper.
She was a super helper. I would cook dinner and he'd start screaming. She's like, I got his pacifier. And she'd go put his pacifier in his mouth. But really he was screaming because he just wanted her attention.
Yeah, Pete's a good kid. He's all excited, and I'm sure he's going to help and love every bit of it.
So I told Mackie that she could talk to the tummy and the baby would know her voice. And of course, Mark, it freaked him out. He's like, this is weird. I'm not doing this. I'm not talking to the tummy. And when Cohen was born, Mackie's voice was the only one he looked for in the room.
And that's something.
So Mark would be holding baby Cohen and be sitting there talking to him, nothing. But the second he hears Mackie walk in the room and here's that voice. That's what he'd open his eyes and look for.
Huh.
And he would always say, that's not fair. And I was like, she talked to the tummy. You didn't.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yep.
You thought it was weird. It's not weird now. Yeah.
So it's a thing. It's happened. So, and it was just kind of funny. It was very, very like, oh, wow, this is really cool. So
what's the next trade show that Sykes and Company is at?
Oh, let's see. So we're doing, we're Pioneer, of course, and certainly appreciate the opportunity to be there with you guys. And we're going to be, we usually do American Pharmacies. They invite us. We're doing the CARE conference next week.
Yep.
In Virginia. Let's see.
Multi in February.
I was about to say multi-location.
We're not doing the multi.
We're not. Okay.
Okay.
That's peak tax season, so we're going to
Ooh, yeah.
pass on that one. Let's see. Of course, the wholesalers, and we, NCPA, and we do PCCA as well. So
how are you gonna do? How are you managing the Cardinal Amerisource this year?
I'll tell you what.
Your dad gonna go to one? You gonna go to the other? What are we doing?
I'm calling dibs on one of them, and I think he's gonna call dibs on the other, and break up the team. So.
So obviously
Gonna
you're
cut
calling
back
dibs
on the
on
travel this year.
Chicago.
That's not.
Yeah. Okay.
So which one are you calling dibs on?
I think I want to go to Orlando.
Okay.
I want to go where it's warm.
We're gonna take the 5. It'll be warm in
Well,
Chicago.
it'll be warm in
July.
both.
Yeah.
I like palm trees, so I'm going with
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Chicago will be.
So-
That's one of the few months that Chicago's nice, in my opinion.
That's like the only time to be in Chicago.
Yeah.
Is in July.
Everything else is just brutal.
Although that kind of, we were there this last July and got hit by a tornado on our way out.
That's true.
Yeah.
Chicago?
Not a tornado.
Yeah,
Like-
we were in Chicago and we were flying from Chicago from a meeting to San Diego. And this is the first time in 15 years of flying I've sat on the plane and they came on the intercom and they go, okay, we're going to need you to please get off the plane and go shelter in place. And a tornado had touched down right outside the airport of Chicago, sucked back up, and then jumped and went over the airport and touched back down again.
Yeah, there were multiple
tornadoes in
headed
Chicago.
toward the lake in Chicago. Yeah.
In July.
There were a couple of planes that they couldn't get back. They had to be like, tell the people on the plane, hey, there's a tornado. You need to shelter in place. And they're like, I'm in a plane. What is it? What am I sheltering in? If I get hit,
yeah. And there was
I guess maybe it'd roll the plane. They'd be okay inside it. I don't know.
I don't know, but like there was like as soon as we landed in San Diego, I'm getting on social media and there's so many videos of people going, I'm sitting here on a plane and they're sitting there posting pictures of the wind picking up around them. And it's like, we can't do anything. And our phones are yelling, tornado, tornado.
And we're all sheltering in the airport and we look up.
And it's like,
And it's all glass.
That's a glass ceiling.
It's all the ceiling in the airport's glass. So we're like, okay, we got near the bathroom. So if it starts to hit, we'll be the first.
We know
couple
where
in the
to duck
bathroom,
in,
but
so-
I wasn't gonna stay in the bathroom.
no, I was not going to sit in
I'm
a
not a
bathroom.
big fan of tornadoes and earthquakes, things I can't really see or know are coming. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But like a hurricane, I can get out. So
Yeah, hurricane.
y'all know about hurricanes down there in Louisiana.
we do.
Well, I grew up in Texas, Tornado Alley. And so tornadoes don't really freak me out. It's like, okay.
Yeah, because where you're from in Texas, it's really flat. You see the suckers coming a long way away.
Well,
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see them coming and it's like, okay, it's over there and it's shifting this way. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not that, I guess tornadoes aren't that scary to me. Hurricanes, because it's the unknowing to me, and tornadoes are the unknowing to you. So I can see.
So give us your top 3 pieces of advice for independent pharmacy in 2024.
Well, same thing we always talk about. Number one is always going to be fundamental accounting. You got to have the fundamentals in place. You have to know what you're doing. You got to know what your pharmacy's doing. If you've got good, solid fundamentals, you can you can use that as an asset in your pharmacy. We still see a lot of pharmacies that just don't have that. And then they're wondering, how am I doing? I'm paying too much tax. I don't know what's going on.
Yep.
Can't have that. The margin of error in a pharmacy is too thin to operate like that. So, fundamental accounting always number one. Number 2, let's see, top 3 things. I guess tax planning. There's always opportunity for planning, tax planning. We see a lot of retirement plan opportunities in a pharmacy. pharmacies with a simple IRA or something like that. I mean, there's some really strong retirement plans a pharmacy can put into place. A lot of pharmacies say, hey, I'm looking to retire and my pharmacy's my retirement when I sell it. Well, there's opportunities where you can not only have your pharmacy be a funding for your retirement, but also you can get these plans in place to really fund a retirement account with big dollars, reduce taxable income, and give you a nice nest egg when you do retire and sell your pharmacy. So there's a lot of retirement plan opportunities out there for some pharmacy owners. I guess it remains to be seen about buying and selling this year, what the M&A activity is going to be like. If there are opportunities, which I'm sure there will be, there's a lot of tax planning tools you can use to maximize those opportunities for pharmacy owners. It's not just simple as asset purchase, stock purchase. You can go into a whole host of tax elections that allow you to get the best of both worlds and maximize your tax advantages, your cash flow involved with all that. So there's a lot of opportunity on the tax planning side with buying a pharmacy or selling a pharmacy. And then cash flow, just be managing that cash flow. And that all goes back to the point number one, fundamental accounting.
Okay, you said something interesting that spun a bunch of different questions off in my head. But I guess the number one and the common problem that I see is they don't think about the full plan. They just think about, I'm opening a pharmacy, I'm getting through these goals. They set goals and they go, cool, I've saved up the money, I've got the robot, I've put aside this money, I've done this next thing. When would you say or recommend that a pharmacy should start thinking about the retirement plan? Because a lot of, to me, the retirement plan thinks about all the stuff that you're doing in between then to grow your business so you can say, cool, this day I plan to exit.
Yeah. So, a standard pharmacy that has debt, you typically a 401k plan with a safe harbor and a profit sharing component, which is a discretionary thing. You don't have to fund that profit sharing every year.
Yeah. Usually
that's a good start for a pharmacy. A simple IRA is not. The funding for the owner is not there. But the 401k, you can put more funds into it. And, and then if you're a mature pharmacy with a very solid balance sheet, not a lot of debt, very profitable, you can look into some pension type plans for those pharmacies, where you can put up to several $100,000 into these plans, and offset, it's a deduction at the pharmacy level, reducing taxable income, but you're moving that money into some qualified retirement plans. And we're talking big dollars. So you got to have the right planning in place. You have to work with the right professionals, obviously here. But there's some opportunities there for those more mature pharmacies, older pharmacies.
What would you say is a realistic, the shortest timeline that would be manageable? Because everything you said is 5 years.
That is a 5-year thing. So if you're going to do something like that, you have to do it for at least 5 years. That's pretty much a requirement. And which is great because, you get a 60-year-old pharmacy owner, 65, who's paid off all their debt. They're just a very profitable, solid pharmacy. They don't really have a retirement plan, maybe a little 401k. And they're profitable and they have tax problems. Well, you're like, hey, if you got 5 more years here, you can load up a retirement plan, reduce that taxable income, and build a $1 million nest egg plus in 5 years, and then we can sell your pharmacy.
But if a pharmacist, so what I hear you saying is that the best thing, at least what I would do based off your recommendation is, hey, I'm 50, I'm wanting to think about the retirement plan so I can retire at 60. Let's start working towards that path and then set a goal of what my money is going to be.
Yeah, well, time value money.
Yeah, value money.
The best place to start that plan is at 25.
Oh, yeah, but not all people think like that.
Yeah, but so it's not, hey, how many years before? It's now.
Yes, it's now.
The answer to all of it is now.
Yep.
Yeah, but the surprising that I'm sure you run into, Scott, is that there's people that go, hey, I want to retire, and like you said, their books aren't amazing.
Yeah, but at this point, it's too late. The answer is now.
I know, but
It was yesterday.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
yesterday.
It was. It's
So-
not. It's not a hey. It's 5 years, and so you're 10 years away. Wait 5 years till you start.
Oh, I know that. But I mean, yes, it's always yesterday. Always plan for the worst yesterday.
And if it's now, and
Plan
your
for the
plan is a
future.
year from now, your plan needs to extend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Or work something
there's
out.
opportunities in the
Or
retirement
you should
plan
have been
area.
working with companies like Sykes
Right.
to be thinking about that plan.
So, Scotty, I think we're about out of time. Thank you for visiting with us today.
Yes.
Well, I
Hope
appreciate you guys having me. It's a pleasure. I know I got to get you on our podcast now.
Yeah.
Got to return the favor. So
I hope everybody listening to this who doesn't have some kind of formal accounting help heard about that it's important. Hope they heard the really cool product there. Just
You
at a
see
minimum, do
value.
the once a year analysis and kind of see where you are. You guys have a lot of respect in the industry, and this is all you do, and so you really, really know it. And I think if people don't have those services, they need to get them.
Absolutely.
well, we try to help as many pharmacies as we can. We try to take the best care of our clients. So that's just what we do day in and day out. And we got a great team. So, but I appreciate you having me on. And again, we'll have to get you on, Jeff, and maybe Marsha on there as well. And we'll reciprocate.
All right. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Have a good day,
guys.
Scotty.
Thank you,
Take care.
Scotty.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more pharmacy professionals like you.